back to the daily grind, and y'all know we gotta talk about this. But before we do, make sure you hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting B-word, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Big John McCarthy, long-time MMA referee, and I mean long time. This dude is a legendary referee. I'm talking about if you go back and watch UFC 1, 2, 3, 4, Big John McCarthy was the referee, yo. I ain't fucking around. I've been watching those recently, you know, on Fight Pass in the last couple of months. I've watched all of those. I'm planning on watching them all, but that's another topic for another day. But Big John McCarthy has been refereeing since way back then. Now, he's moved on from being a referee to now being a Bellator MMA commentator. He does cage-side commentary, kind of like, you know, Joe Rogan in the UFC. And that's what he does it for the UFC's competition now, Bellator MMA. Now, you know, that he's not a referee, and I don't even know if referees can, you know, come out and speak up on fighters or managers like this, but as a commentator, Big John clearly can. I mean, he might have been able to before, but I'm just saying, I've never really heard Big John come after someone like this. But at the same time, Ali Abdelaziz has been rubbing a lot of people the wrong way recently with his comments about Conor McGregor, calling him a prostitute. And Big John McCarthy responded saying, "A manager calling a fighter a prostitute? Really? Like, you fucking kidding me, dog?" And he elaborates saying, like, I can understand Ariel's position. He was responding to somebody else on Twitter. He said, I guess, or as far as the tweet from Ali, he makes his living off of the blood, sweat, and tears of fighters. I'm guessing a pimp is what that position would be called. So he's saying, like, how are you going to call Conor McGregor a prostitute when you're pimping all of your fighters? And I've got to say, though, I wouldn't necessarily consider a manager a pimp, because if you know anything about pimping, pimps make a lot more than 20, 30, even 50%. Usually the pimp is going to make about 80%, and technically he's going to make 100% and then give about 20% back. But a pimp usually makes a majority of his hoe's money, or his prostitute, I guess, in Ali Abdelaziz's terms. Now, Ali Abdelaziz really hasn't even clarified like what he meant by calling Conor a prostitute. Is he saying the UFC is pimping Conor out by like pimping him off to, you know, boxing and stuff like that, saying, you know, they're sending Conor wherever the biggest money is? He's not, you know, that could be what he's saying. And I mean, I'm not siding with Ali Abdelaziz, but I will say his definition of pimping is, you know, more right here, because if he's calling the UFC Conor's pimp, they make essentially most of Conor's money and they disperse it back out to the fighters. You know what I'm saying? The UFC makes a majority of the money and gives it back out to the fighters. However, you know, that pie splits. Conor makes a lot more than other fighters, but essentially, you know, the UFC looks like more of a pimp than a manager, and that's just in my mind, because the UFC, like on the TV deal, they make like 100% of that. You know, the fighters don't really get a cut of that. So that's, you know, the UFC, you have to wear Reebok even though they're independent contractors. The UFC fighters kind of get, you know, more pimped in these terms. And I don't even like saying fighters are getting pimped and shit like that, but we're having this conversation thanks to Ali Abdelaziz and Big John McCarthy. So I figured I'd bring my first-hand experience, and not saying that I was a pimp, but I grew up around a lot of that bullshit. But so that's what I'm saying. Now, as far as what is this stemming from, Conor McGregor recently came out and said that he offered to fight Frankie Edgar on short notice to save UFC 222. Frankie Edgar's manager fired back and said, hold on, that's bullshit. And that's, you know, now he's going back and forth with Conor McGregor there. But this was just interesting to me because Big John McCarthy spoke up, you know, against Ali Abdelaziz, or Frankie Edgar's manager. And I'm just not really, you know, Big John McCarthy's not really one to, you know, really take a stand on many things, but I guess he clearly felt, you know, offended whenever Ali Abdelaziz called Conor McGregor a prostitute. But Big John's over in Bellator, you know what I'm saying? This is UFC business. No, I'm just fucking around. But with that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you guys think about John McCarthy responding to Frankie Edgar's manager for calling Conor McGregor a prostitute. I'm out. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.